Starting off DZBT04 to a pretty slow start. Most of you imagine I just didn't bother about the Destined ones. But actually, I always was, because the pod of man is back. But he stopped being a pod and he stopped being a man. So what the hell do we call him now? Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm DZBT04 here. Today I am back to cover the Destined One of Protection, Alden, in... I can't even say Divines. This is a Divines deck. Today, of course, I'm never alone, just like Alden and his boys. Today, I have Nami.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, thank you so much for coming. I'm really glad I got a chance to cover Alden, despite the fact that I'm very behind schedule. But I just wanted to make sure that within my DZBT04 coverage, I at least got to talk about him. Because this guy blew up from set 13 and like everyone loved him. Then they abandoned him. Then they called him Balden. I don't know. Is he bald? He clearly has hair. He has more hair than most of you who comment on his videos, so I'm assuming he's okay.
He just looks very tired in the anime, though.
Yeah, because he's a hard worker, not like most of you unemployed bums on this channel. But okay, anyway, so today we'll be doing Alden. I just gonna put a preface right here. This video, we are not going to play Catapult. That's right, we are not using any of the order generics. We're gonna build away from that. Neither will we use the more typical generics you know in Keter Sanctuary. Today we're going to build it based on the concept of Alden and Razionel, whom you probably have seen a lot of Twitter posts about, but I will not be bringing up any of one of them. The idea is that both of them are grade 3s, and you know who else is grade 3?
Light lead track, okay, such as.
Yeah, and a lot of good Keter cards are also grade 3 because of, you know, Bastion's influence on the nation. And we are going to basically make Alden play like Bastion. We're going to play a grade 3 beatdown, of course with some of the main key parts that Alden used to play in grade 1 and grade 2. And the whole idea is to play a turn 3 destroy deck, just to push as hard as possible and to break them in terms of the numbers, the defense, everything. And it's actually pretty fun to play. I would say this is more fun interactive than even the order version, because the order version, you're basically just playing Razionel on turn 2 and then Alden on turn 3. But why not just play Razionel then? Right? Like, come on, guys. I know I got a lot of flack for talking about the Order Core in Graham Grace, that so many people were like, oh, I hate Keter, you know, this is such a bad nation, yada yada yada, and then there was an entire video on how we hate generic cards, and then, you know, there's a lot of other people just commenting a lot of really unproductive rubbish. But today we're going to set it straight. Today we're going to talk about Alden the way Alden was first born in DBT13. Just his own budget support, nothing more. But of course, we're going to throw in a few extra spicy cards from here and there from other Keter sets that you may not have remembered, and we are going to cover them today. So let's get started. Again, there are many ways to build Alden, so if you feel offended or if you're not happy by this version, I would just tell you to test it yourself. Alden has enough cards that you can actually vary in deck list, so it's not that bad.
He's a really flexible boss.
He's really flexible. He's not hard locked like, for example, Mr. Equilibria. So yeah. Alright, let's talk about the right deck. Energy. Energy, you already know. I'm covering it in my device explaining video, link in the description. So not much to really talk about here. The only thing you do need to know though is that energy in this context is used strictly by one card mainly, and that is of course the beautiful princess of this deck, which is Razionel. Again, I will not talk about the Twitter post about Razionel. So most of the energy just goes to her. You don't really bother about anything else. Okay. Your grade 0 is Ahmes. Yes, Ahmes is back and he's been promoted, just like none of you in your occupations. So Ahmes is the grade 0, grade 1 is still Tranquilia. Tranquilia has sadly changed from being a Keter ultra generic to a not generic. But it's the fact it's not so bad. Tell us what it does.
Alright, so he's pretty good. When he's written by the grade 2,
Serdius. The new Serdius, yes,
it has to be the new Serdius. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add any grade 2 or greater card to your hand. If you did not, you get to energy charge too.
So the thing is that for Alden, in terms of the Destined One of Protection Alden, you actually get the opportunity to play either Alden right line, either the old or the new one. The new Alden right line, while you know it's not linked to the different grades restriction, also gives you a more lenient to grade 2 or higher, which is why we even thought of this deck list in the first place, because you can play half the deck as grade 3s and no one will really care, right? And you can search them all out. But the problem with the old Alden is that it forces you to play awkward grades, because that's the nature of the deck, that was the mechanic of the deck. But you could search out Selgown, who's got stronger soldier, but we are not playing Selgown in this deck for political reasons, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Moving on to grade 2, this is the new Sardius. Sardius, when rolled upon by any card with Alden in its name, including the set 13 one, that's completely fine. You can Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of the deck, choose one card that's grade 3 or less from among them, call it the rearguard circle. If you do, shuffle the deck. Again, all these lean to a strategy that most people have forgotten, that you can play around grade 3 or lower, which is basically the whole deck at this point. And you can also play this with the original Alden if you are not happy with playing different grades restriction. So I will actually take this time right now to say the link is in the description for the original Alden deck profile I did in DZBT13. I will not be covering original Alden again in Divines. I just don't have the time and capacity to do that deck again. But if you want to see how the old support works, check the link in the description, then come back here. Because I feel that with both videos in mind, you generally will get a good enough grasp of both or the complete Alden story. Speaking of that, Alden.
The Destined One of Protection Alden. So he has a new spangled look and he has a big upgrade from what he was previously. He does serve a completely different utility compared to what the previous incarnation was. So he has 3 different effects. The first one is continuous. Whenever a rearguard is placed over by his effect, so it has to be Alden's
Placed
own
over
effect.
A current rearguard.
Yes, a current rearguard. Instead of the rearguard being retired from an overloaded circle, the card will return to your hand instead.
So what that basically means is that, if you had, like, for example, a Sargeus, then you call over it with something, right? If it's through the ability of Alden that you call this new card, the old card just goes back to your hand. Now, at first glance, you may go, well, why are you even calling over circles, you idiot? Firstly, you get to replenish all your on-place abilities very easily. This was something that old Alden struggled to do because you had to bounce it back to hand and then call it. Now you can just call back Ermac and he becomes the most lethal force on planet Earth. And not only that, like, you could easily tag out your defenses in and out. So, like, for example, Gelmet, who is known for defense, you could just have Ermac swing first, then Gelmet to cover over, and there you go. You have your defense and offense covered perfectly. You can rotate your whole boards in and out very effectively with this skill, although it plays a lot like Jewel Knights, which makes me feel very sad. But, hey, if you're a Jewel Knights fan, then this is looking good for you.
So what are these elusive skills? So the first one is an auto. When Alden attacks, you can counterblast 1, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to your rearguard circle, and the called unit gains plus 10,000 power.
So they basically just make Ganslot Zenith. This is literally just Ganslot Zenith. It's a CB1, draw 1, call 1 plus 10. Of course, Alden being the Destined One of Protection, see? Shukumesha. So basically, he's going to give your units called by Alden's effect both this auto skill as well as his divine skill later on, the ability that the rearguard's called cannot be retired, right?
Until the end of your
opponent's next turn. So that also means that they can be bound. So all hail Shoujo Doji, we welcome you into our life. But yeah, other than that though, it's not bad for an ability that's not even locked to different grades of the opponent.
Yes,
or even grades of your
it
board.
is a very flexible ability.
A very simple swing CB1, draw 1, call 1. Like, it's literally Ganslot Zenith, and it's just really good. And that is his base skill. That's his skill he gets every turn. Let's talk about the divine skill then.
Alright, so his divine skill is an act. So during the main phase, you get to Soul Blast 1 and look at the top 7 cards of your deck and call any 2 from among them to your rearguard circle.
Yep.
So, it's just a hard blast 2.
Yeah, it's a hard plus 2. And you can use this whenever. This divine skill has no grade restriction on the opponent. A lot of the divine skills, as you know, always check if your opponent's grade 3 or greater. This doesn't.
This does not.
This doesn't. So you could just generate your whole board on turn 3 and he is powerless to react.
And remember, since it was called by Alden's effect, they are all gaining the protection effect.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, if you call units from the divine skill over units that have been part of your board since earlier, they can also bounce back to the board, bounce back to your hand, so you can reuse the on-place effects. So hell, even just shift them to a different circle.
So, just saying, if you're going from grade 2 to grade 3, you are not only calling 1 card from the grade 2 if you choose to use this effect. You can call 2 more from Alden's divine skill, and that's just half a board basically.
That's a plus 3. That's a plus 3 just
for a Soul Blast
by
2.
riding up. That's really good. That's really good. And this is the main lines of how the plussing goes. You notice the plussing now looks at the board. Where did the pot of greed go? There's no more draw 2. But you know what? We don't need a pot of greed anymore. We have new ways to draw. And let's cover it right now. Moving on to our grade 3s. Our grade 3s, we obviously play 4 copies of Alden because, this is the Alden deck. You can play Persona. Then we have 4 copies of Razionel. I will not be talking about the Twitter post about Razionel. We have 3 copies of Sages. King Sages is back. 3 copies of Light Leads. He's an old friend. 1 for Vidal Surrogate, aka the Bastion plushie. And then 2 copies of Form Up or Chosen Knights. Again though, this is our version of playing Alden, so if these options look very spicy to you or just too much for you to handle, you can always just play Alden differently. But this is an option we wanted to experiment because a lot of people aren't looking at this option, and I thought this is pretty fun. We'll cover the cards you definitely do need to play this deck. Firstly is Alden. Surprise.
Wow.
He's the Persona, right? So yeah, just play 4.
Just so you know, Alden is in this specific deck is very easy to search out because you can call him from any of your superior call effects.
And then bounce it back then.
Yes. So you always have your Persona right ready to go.
Moving on to the main support, and the reason why we made this video, Razionel. I will not be talking about the Twitter post about Razionel. When his unit is placed on the rearguard circle, Energy Blast 4 and draw a card.
It's a generic effect, can play in any deck.
Please stop saying that. Please stop saying that. I caught the guy on Twitter who said that. That's rubbish. It's nonsense. It's not real. No one plays Energy Blast 4 to draw 1. Not even Grand Grace. It is stupid to think this is
I mean, if you really want to play Energy Blast 4 to draw 1, there's a common in DZBT01 that's a grade 2 that says on attack Energy Blast 4 to draw 1.
Yeah, why don't you just do that then?
So, that's not the main reason we play Razionel.
Absolutely not. We play for the art.
Great. Anyway, her second effect is on rearguard circle. When she's placed over by the card ability of an Alden Vanguard, you get to give the unit that has been called over by her plus 10,000 power. Then, if your opponent is at grade 3 or greater, you can Soul Blast 1 and restand one of your rearguards.
That basically means, combined with the regular attack skill of Alden who calls over 1, Razionel, Soul Blast 1, choose your other rearguard, stand it, you have 5 attacks. For Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 1, you have 5 attacks. And they're all at least 23k or higher at minimum.
Yeah, and because Alden's own effect, when you're calling the unit gains 10, Razionel gives an additional 10, so that's a free 20k out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's a really big number.
That's insane. I cannot believe they printed this. I really cannot.
And if you're on Persona, right, have fun. So this deck, it may not look like much, but it has a lot of offensive pressure.
Doesn't look like much. Have you seen this art? I will not talk about the Twitter post about Razionel. But wow, do you know she talks about herself as an older sister in the flavor text? I will not read those posts about Razionel.
Ara, mama.
Your guy, don't do that. Okay, so here, are the grade 3s you're playing, their non-orders are Light Leads and Sages. So you already recognize these two. They also were played in the original Alden deck, and they simply have move house. So Light Leads is the direct support for Alden. It's that whenever Alden is on the field, can be the rearguard, this unit gains boost. Yeah, suck that, Bastion. Boost. And not only that, at the end of the battle, this unit boost, right?
Attack or
boost, right? Thank you. Attack or boost. You can move one of your other rear guards in the same column as this unit to the soul. Choose one of your Aldens and it gains 10. So remember how we were talking about how this beautiful lady gives us so much free numbers, and then Alden gives the guy free numbers. Now we're gonna give Alden himself free numbers. We're gonna give back to our leader, and that means your opponent can't guard shit because the whole board is gonna at least gain a net sum of 40k for free, for absolutely free.
Though you are only using Light Leech if second effect on your first boost swing if you don't have Razionel on your front row.
Oh, absolutely, because you don't want to move this wonderful lady to your soul. Like that just defeats the purpose of the deck.
That's right.
Yeah. So only if you don't have Razionel on the front row as Light Leads, you can move anything else in the soul, and then you can get the plus 10. So even though this is one of the better ways to gain soul for Alden, I see a lot of lists not playing Light Leads because it's very clunky. But this is why in the first place we even bothered to play the grade 3 style, because we can play all these older support back into Alden again. That being said though, Light Leads is definitely one of the harder cards in this deck to play because you do need to time it, and if you call wrongly, you will suffer for it.
He is a good booster though, so Yeah,
you should still look into him definitely. And last but not least, King Sages. Sages, I've talked about him to Kingdom Come. Most Keter videos nowadays, I'm just gonna talk about him because I can't talk about Grand Grace anymore.
Remember, Hikari managed to overpower and overtrigger that Akina pulled, and Akina still managed to guard against it. So what does that say?
I won't talk about this skill anymore because I think we all know what it does. I will just say that this card recently got reprinted in Festival Booster 2024, so I don't think it's that expensive to buy this guy anymore. I think I only got him for like 1,000 plus yen for my second print, so really it's alright.
Though this guy is your secondary way to generate souls. So
Yeah, because he does move a card from soul. From top deck to soul.
Yes.
Okay, our last two orders to cover right now before this video crosses the 30-minute mark is going to be Forbidal Surrogate and Format or Chosen Knights. Forbidal Surrogate is our Regalis piece. You thought I would only play this in Felty Roads, right? But because this is a grade 3 style deck, as we mentioned previously, we get the liberty to play this amazing card, which is a Regalis piece, so you can play one off. You can just play this as an order. Search a deck for two different...
Search a deck or drop.
Search a deck or drop, thank you. For two different grade 3s of different names, and then you can call them to Rearguard Circle. The grade 4 effect doesn't matter because you're not playing prime time, but you know what that means? It's an only search for Razionel. I will not talk about the Twitter post about Razionel.
Though what I do prefer to use this for is to use this, call a light lead, call in Alden, and next turn you have a Persona Rite ready to go.
Because you can bounce it back then. So that's what we meant by Alden having good Persona consistency, is because Alden itself is a grade 3, he plays into a lot of the synergies that allow you to just bounce them all back to hand, and that basically guarantees you a Persona Rite. Which is pretty good.
And a card that most people have not seen in a while, Format or Chosen Knights.
I guarantee you after this video is released, this will be our next tournament we print for December.
Nice. Anyway...
And it's your fault.
Okay, how do you play this card? You play this with a cost of Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1. Then you apply the effects according to the number of grade 3 units that you have on the board.
Counter your Vanguard.
Yes. So if you have 2 or more, you get to draw 1 card.
Wow!
Sorry, if you have 2 or more units, you get to choose one of your units and give it plus 5k. If you have 3 or more, you get to draw 1 card. And if you have 4 or more, choose one of your Vanguards and give it plus 1 drive until end of turn.
So we literally just turned the Alden board, which has already so much devastating swing power, into a full Gatling machine gun. Because now we just give free 5k to somebody, a draw, because we always needed more of that, and now Alden gets triple drive. So he's now a 23k minimum triple drive Vanguard. On top of Miss Razionel's beautiful 36k column, and right now we have light leads who can top it off with another 13k. And of course King Sarges. Yeah, you're cooked. You're cooked. But this is the benefits and downsides of playing a grade 3 heavy strategy. Format or Chosen Knights is the most win more card on the planet though, so the thing with Format is that if you don't see your grade 3 board, if your board somehow doesn't generate back to grade 3s, you do not get to use the full effect, and that's really bad.
And it can be Counter Blast denied, so you always want to use your Alden's effect over this any time of the day.
Definitely. But this is fun to see. I do like to see innovative deck building such as this, but it has its pros and cons. You can completely catch people with their pants down, just like me and Razionel. But the problem with this guy is that, if you just don't get a grade 3 on the board, you just die. So, yeah.
Have fun with experimenting.
Yeah, again, this is our version of playing Bastion. Alden.
It's alright, man.
Alden.
Alden was once part of the Bastion crew.
He's right there. I thought of him. I saw him on the yard.
That's right. So it's perfectly fine to use this card.
Okay. Grade 2. Talk about the grade 2 before this video crosses half hour mark. Okay, Sardius, obviously. 4 Ermac, you already know him. 4 Gelmut. These guys are very simple. You can just cover them.
Alright, so Gelmut, he has a very simple effect. Auto, if you have a Vanguard with Alden in his card name, when he intercepts, he gains plus 20k shield.
Wow, that's a walking wall right there, man.
That's right. Next, Ermac, when he's placed, he gets plus 5k power.
If you have a unit of Alden.
And if you have a unit with Alden as your Vanguard, he gains 15k instead of 5. So, you call him from Alden's effect, you call him on top of Razionel, he himself hits up to 45k, without boost or anything. And if you put triggers, it's even more. So, he is your offense. He is
the main spear of the offense.
Yes.
And then, of course, there's Sardius, you already know what he does. Moving on to the grade 1s. On grade 1s, we obviously play 1 copy of Tranquilia. He's from the right deck, you already know him, so if you forgot, just go back. We play 4 Painkiller, 2 Firon, and then
4
we play 4 PGs. So 4 BGs, you want to stay alive, I think that's pretty obvious. We play 2 Firon. Firon's just a fast way to counter charge. Her skill is when placed on a Rearguard Circle, it gains 2000 power. If you have a unit with Alden on the board, discard 1 and counter charge 1. It's not the best counter charger per se, but it is the fastest, because I know some people play the divine skill countercharger, I think that's fine, but for us, we just want to get a countercharge early so we can use the effects.
Also, let me honestly tell you, more games than not in this version of the deck, you have too many Razionels in hand anyway, so you honestly want to discard the excess
No,
copies.
I want to hold on to her as much as possible. Okay, next for the Painkiller. Painkiller just, I didn't use any of battle using any boost, so last one retire, draw one, ha ha ha, luat, da-na-na. Okay, the joke writes itself.
Though if you use Painkiller, you do have to be mindful of your soul.
Yeah, that's the only issue with this card.
Yeah.
But if not, it's fine.
You can burn through 2 soul, but you also generate 2 soul with Razionel, with Suggest and Light Leads. So usually what I do is Light Leads will be the last booster, and I'll put the Suggest in front of it into the soul.
Yep. Now the thing is that most people will play Selgaon in this slot, which is fine, but one, we don't have money. Two, Painkiller allows us to play even against opponents with large boards, which would be example, Stoichia, Leonon, Grenville, all those kind of thing. So Painkiller is just a safer option, but again, if you want to play your Selgaon, just go ahead. Alright, moving on to our grade zeros. Our grade zeros, we play
5 fronts.
A lot of crits, 4 heals, and then 1 light OT. The reason why we play 5 fronts is strictly because 1, we did have extra money to buy FR front. 2, our boards are always quite wide from turn 3 onwards, so we can try lane, and with fronts, we just high roll better.
And if you triple drive, have fun.
Yeah, and of course, we still play some amounts of crits, it's not that bad. And then we play light OT. Why do we play the light OT?
Okay, so the problem with Alden sometimes is that your opponent's field is just too strong. So if you check the light OT at any point in time and you just burn your opponent's field, they just feel bad because Alden is not supposed to be a deck with retire.
Yeah, but now you can.
Yes.
The light of the sun.
And if they don't have a field, guess what? You get to draw more cards. But
And
in this deck, there's a reason why we don't play the Keter OT. And that's mainly because you will deck out.
Because half our deck is grade 3. And that wraps up our conclusion for the Alden deck profile in Divines. Again, this is one way you can build Alden. There are many ways you can build Alden. So don't feel constrained by this video. In fact, you should feel, you should feel a lot of liberty. You should feel quite happy, because it's just very easy to play Alden. You can see all these effects have no actual hard lock, right? They're all pretty flexible. You can play a bunch of stuff in them and out of them, and it's pretty fun. The main core of this deck, which is Alden himself, is not an engine that takes up a lot of space. So you could really fill up the gaps with a lot of things you see fit, especially when Alden gets support in DZBT05. I believe there will be even more deck options for you to build from. So yeah, that's really about all I have to say. Any final thoughts?
Alden has come so far, man.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely. I'm so happy that I get to cover him again, because he's really someone you root for as a character. So yeah, and Jinki and Gui too, I think both of them were really well written in the episodes. So I'm glad they didn't fumble the bag, unlike, previous seasons. But yeah, this was pretty good.
Well, I hope you guys have fun experimenting, see the little synergies in Keter, and Keter is more than just a Keter pal. I hope this video is enough to prove that.
That's right. And remember, if anything happens to me, the Night Roast stream is next week, aka, this week at the point of recording. Please, I'm sorry for cheating on you, I'm sorry. Alright, bye-bye.